So there is one other huge thing that I'd like for us to chat about because you are certainly more passionate or more experienced, I guess, maybe, is the takeover of
Quote
Washington.
unquote takeover.
Yeah, I'd
Oh,
like to talk about that. I think the thing that's important to talk about is there is nothing illegal that's been done. There's questionable, there's gray, the typical current administration gray. But you see this as being part of a bigger picture or practice for next year or
so
what?
my opinion is no, it's not illegal. For those that aren't familiar, there is I guess it's called the Home Rule Act, which basically allows the federal government to take over DC's police, which is one of the things that the president has done. He's able to be in control of Capitol Police, the DC Police, for I think 30 days unless Congress steps in.
Now
Um,
he's asked for an extension already.
oh, I'm sure. And then to go further than that, they have called in the National Guard. They're in what's called the Title 32 status, which basically means that which would be that they would remain under state command, but they're there for a federalized mission. I think I'm not sure how that works with the president being in control of DC right now, if that makes it ipso facto the mayor of DC is not in control or not. I'm not sure on the legalities there. But the thing that I am sure of is, and this is a common misunderstanding, the National Guard is not functioning as a law enforcement entity inside of DC right now. They are standing guard on basically the historical sites within the mall. If you're not familiar with what the mall is, it's where like the Capitol building is. It's where like the White House is. It's where the National Monument, Lincoln's Memorial, the historical museums, all museums. It's like just one. It's literally like if you've ever seen Captain America or the Avengers movie where like Captain America and the Falcon are running, and he's like on your left, on your left. That's the DC Mall. That's where they're running. And right now, National Guard people are basically just standing around like they were doing in California, like they were doing I guess right now it's just been in California and DC.
Right.
The reason I hate it, and I'm sorry, this will be, and you can come back. The reason I hate it is because while it is not illegal, it is using the military as a political tool, as like a
The
means
yeah, it's one
to
of
intimidate
the 10,
people.
11 yeah, it's like one of the 10 or 11 things that I list as being the top issues is where, you're weaponizing the military to intimidate the American people.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a
Which,
problem for me. And then I
yeah.
think the bigger problem, or no, what is the bigger problem is the threat to democracy. So we can't keep saying the bigger problem. A problem under the threat to democracy is the manipulation of data because one of the current administration's machinations on why he was able to do this was the high crime rate.
Yeah, and so that's the other thing that kind of freaking annoyed the crap out of me is right now the Justice Department data showed that like the violent crime in DC is like something like at a 30-year low as
Yeah,
of
last
2024.
year I think 2024 it was insanely low.
And I know that there has been a conservative talking point where they're like, well, that was, the police chief, and I loosely looked into this, that the police chief was recently like, I don't know if they were indicted or if they just got in trouble or relieved of command or whatever. The police chief made up those numbers. Those aren't even the real numbers. And I'm like,
Numbers
okay.
not support the current administration's
Rhetoric. So of course they're made up.
quality of rhetoric. Yeah. So you're saying that they said that the DC,
Yeah, that the DC police chief was like relieved. Yeah,
okay.
it was like relieved of duty, and I want to say it was in like 20, might have been 2023 or 2024. That was what they were trying to argue was that oh yeah, those numbers are wrong. But I mean, this is this is the way the administration has always functioned, though. If there is any data that doesn't support whatever it is that they're doing,
Well, now let me say this. The Pam Bondi had named a DEA administrator as the emergency DC police chief, but it looks like the police chief she made a deal and was allowed to stay in command, but I am not finding anything about a prior police chief being, I mean, let's say this though. The news moves so freaking fast. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Apparently, you've got to always have to type in the right thing to
yeah.
get what you want. Why are you guys?
Yeah, and I saw them discussing it in one of the conservative spaces that because I still wade around in the cesspools.
But you know what? Honestly, I don't wade. I kind of tip my toe in, but with our Hopeful Resistance page on Facebook, I do use that as a platform to check out
Yeah,
people.
so this is when was this? Oh, see, so what it looks like is the article that they're linking. This article is from July 18th of 2025. And it says, DC police commander suspended accused of changing crime statistics.
Okay, but when is that dated?
July 18th, 2025.
Okay, so this is
So scratch what I was talking about, because apparently,
a month ago and was suspended by who?
okay, it's not a super long article. Let me see if I can just skim through it and find out who it is. Yeah, so this is chief of police. And it seems like it's not even like the police chief. It's like one guy.
Right. And so again, this is the narrative that the current administration writes and then makes the situation comply with it. But the folks who love conspiracy theories, I mean, think about what's going on here that's feeding the deep state narrative.
Yeah,
Okay, the Department of Labor statistics are wrong. Oh, now look, Washington, D.C. crime statistics are wrong. And I mean, just over and over again, there was back in Germany, during the Nazi regime buildup, I guess, there was a woman who wrote an article or a book of some kind, and she talked about how one of the first dynamics of this sort of a takeover, a regime building power, is to make you distrust everything.
right.
Distrust everything but me. And all I could think of was, again, with Rush, it didn't matter the Stanford, Harvard, because these universities were all of a sudden discredited. So none of their research mattered.
Right.
The CDC is wrong because, his whole big thing about the whole COVID vaccine. And then the National Institutes of Health was wrong. And I'm like, okay, so none of these scientific bodies, people who spent their entire lives studying biology and science, none of them are to be believed. But people in the current administration who make a web page that say believe this are
Yeah,
to
that's the credible. It
that's
looks like sorry, yeah. The this seems like there might be some merit to the potentiality for the numbers to be a bit foobarred because
okay.
it seems like the police union is arguing that the commanders, the higher authority of the DC police, have been filing different uh, classifications of crimes to make it look like violent crime is down. Now, so I'll just read this part. So Chairman Greg Pemberton, this is the guy, Chairman Greg Pemberton. This is the yeah, he's the chairman of the DC
Guy of
Police
the
Union.
police union.
Yeah. See, so basically he said, so instead of an officer taking a report for a shooting or a stabbing or a carjacking, they will order that officer to take a report for a theft or an injured person to the hospital or a felony assault, which is not the same type of classification.
So this again, that's wrong. If that's what was happening
Yeah.
now, does it legitimately mean then that violent crime is up? We will not know under the current administration. We will not know because
Yeah, and I'm
who's
gonna
going
go,
to document
I'm
the
gonna be the
criminal?
guy that goes on a limb and says, I mean, the police unions by design are meant to push back on higher command. And I would I'm not I would just want to see more concrete data, right? Not just hearsay
All right.
that that's what's happened. I mean, this guy was relieved of command, so it seems like that's what's happening. I would want to know how bad is the crime other than us just saying, "Oh, well, it's out of control." Okay. Um, like let's give me a little more information than it's out of control. And I'll even go on to say that if it's out of control and we're using the authority of the law, right? Like the law as it's written, the what's it the where are my notes?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That we are using the Home Rule Act and we're using it as intended in order to take over DC crime
I
and
will
lower
also
crime
say
rates.
again, you and I say I love to be wrong. I love to be wrong. If I was wrong about this is a, I never ever thought that this was a coup that his bringing the National Guard into DC was a coup because the coup is already taking place in other ways.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not. I
But I
And
did
again,
I
the
was
National Guard shit is just show of force. They're not doing the
what was the
honestly,
reason was
you in my opinion, it's a waste of fucking money because they're just standing around monuments not doing shit.
what is the reason for bringing the National Guard into DC to bring down crime? Because if that is the case, then he is putting the National Guard in positions of enforcement.
It would be to yes and no. It would be to bring down crime. No, it would not be what you said. It would be yes, it is to bring down crime by using the National Guards as a means of intimidation against lawbreakers, meaning that they're not actually going out and actively arresting people, right? They're not actively marching the streets against the protests that are going on right now. That's all DC police, and I think ICE and I think the FBI is out there, but the National Guard itself is not performing those actions. I know that we got into this topic I think before was that there was someone on Threads whose son I guess refused the order
Yeah.
and is now being held accountable for that or for refusing the order. And the argument is, I'm on two sides of the argument. On the one hand, yeah, if you feel morally that you can't follow that order, then don't follow it. I'm not going to discourage anyone
Because we
from,
told those during Vietnam, those were conscientious objectors.
yeah. And I
Well,
would go,
they know, but you're not always free of the consequences.
right. And I would go a step further by saying that it could be good for people to disobey the order because it can start bringing, because then they can be NJP'd. If you don't know what that means, it's non-judicial punishment. It's basically the military
Court
punishes
martial.
you. No.
Oh,
So an NJP is a non-judicial punishment. There's rules for it, but the military can punish you without going to court martial. It's usually
she's
has very specific criteria, right? Like loss of
a
rank,
family
half
member.
pay.
Okay, because she's a family member who posted this on Threads. Her knee-jerk comment may have been, "Oh, he's going to get court-martialed," but the reality is he might just get an NJP.
Right. Now, maybe. Because you can refuse the NJP and then it automatically goes to court martial. So when you're NJ
Like some sort of a public court action.
Yeah, so whenever you're NJP'd, I've not been NJP'd. I was a Sound Marine. Whenever you're NJP'd, they bring you in and they basically say, "Hey, we're NJPing you for this under this article of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Sign here," basically saying that you accept the NJP.
Is that a dishonorable discharge?
No.
You're still in the military, but you're being punished for something.
Yes. And again, There's criteria. We could walk down the criteria of NJP. There's very specific criteria of what they can do within an NJP. And it's usually things like you lose rank, you might get half pay, you can be put on restriction, meaning like you basically go to and from the barracks and then you check
I
in
won't
every
say
hour.
I'm
Like,
not gonna name him, but I think your older brother went through that at one point.
yes. So, yes, I am also sure that that's happened. And I've known, men that were men and women that were in JP'd. I mean, it is the military's easiest path to punishment because they don't have to court martial every crime.
And not public.
Yes.
If he rejected that and went to the court martial, then there would be a public trial or a trial that the public would have access to in some way.
Right. And so, um, if he refuses the NJP, and again, I just don't know the situation. Maybe they're straight court martialing him. Maybe they were going to NJP him and he already refused it to make it to a court
None have
martial.
provided less information.
Yeah. And so, the good side of refusing the order and refusing the NJP and taking it to court martial is that then it can start asking broader questions like, is this a lawful order? How is it a lawful order? And it's like a real trial. You are represented by a member of the JAG Corps. For those that aren't familiar, the JAG Corps, or at least for the Marines, for Marine Corps and Navy, is the JAG Corps. I don't know if it's the same for the Army, but the JAG, you get a lawyer that's a member of the JAG Corps, and they represent you, and they.
It's the first person that I've known because I know her, digitally. This is the first time I've heard of somebody refusing an order since this started. I did not hear of anybody refusing orders for the LA deployment.
Hmm.
This is the first time I've heard of it. So that's why I tagged you because I think it will just be interesting. But I want to back out of the rabbit hole a little bit and say I think for this moment, because we know how quickly things change and how batshit crazy stuff is.
Right.
For this moment, the fact that there are National Guard troops in DC, I don't see that as a cause for alarm. I think it is a distraction technique.
Yes.
Yeah,
I guess for me, that's the big one. Is I'm glad that there's people that watch and are like, oh, new information. Yeah.
Aaron and I just want to make a difference, and that's why we're here.